Welcome to today's podcast. I'm thrilled to have you join me as we discuss a subject that many English learners contemplate: mastering English with ease. If you've ever thought that learning English is overly challenging or time-consuming, this podcast is meant for you. Let me take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Jenny, and I've been assisting individuals like you in learning English in a manner that is simple, natural, and enjoyable. Over the years, I've noticed that many students get disheartened with conventional learning methods, often feeling like their progress isn't as fast as they desire. However, the reality is that learning English doesn't have to be a struggle. It shouldn't feel like an overwhelming task every single day. In fact, it can be straightforward, enjoyable, and indeed effortless. You might wonder how learning English can be effortless. The answer lies in shifting your learning perspective. You don't have to dedicate countless hours each day or memorize lengthy vocabulary lists. Instead, by making slight adjustments to your English practice, you can enhance your skills naturally without feeling pressure or stress. In this podcast, I'll provide you with some straightforward and practical advice that you can implement immediately. Whether you are a beginner or have been practicing English for some time, these tips will enable you to incorporate speaking and listening practice into your daily routine. You'll discover how to immerse yourself in the language, develop listening and speaking habits on a daily basis, and most importantly, keep your learning exciting and inspiring. Remember, you already possess the ability to learn English, and there's no need to make it difficult. The secret is to engage with your learning with patience, consistency, and a positive attitude. In today's episode, we'll discuss how to integrate English learning seamlessly into your life in a way that feels enjoyable and effortless. So sit back, relax, and let's embark on this journey of effortless English learning together. Grasping the idea of effortless learning. Before we explore the techniques that simplify learning English, let's first clarify what we mean by effortless learning. You might be wondering if it's genuinely feasible to acquire something as intricate as English without it feeling like a laborious task. The answer is yes, and here's the reasoning. When we envision learning, we often picture ourselves at a desk, memorizing vocabulary and navigating through endless grammar rules. We may see ourselves studying for hours, feeling anxious, and perpetually questioning if we're progressing. However, this conventional approach to learning isn't always the most effective, particularly for mastering a language such as English. Rather than viewing learning as an endeavor that demands significant effort and frustration, consider it a natural and enjoyable process. This is the essence of effortless learning. It involves alleviating the pressure and anxiety commonly associated with language acquisition. It's about employing techniques that are seamless, enjoyable, and even soothing. Imagine learning English not by forcing yourself to study for long periods or worrying about errors, but by immersing yourself in the language naturally. This may seem too good to be true, but it isn't. Indeed, many successful language learners adopt this approach. Here's how you can begin to perceive learning English as a more effortless experience. Shift your mindset. The first step to effortless learning is changing the way you think about learning itself. Many learners have the belief that they need to work extremely hard, or that they have to memorize everything to succeed. But learning doesn't have to be a struggle. If you approach English with a positive mindset, focusing on progress rather than perfection, you'll start to enjoy the process. The less pressure you put on yourself, the more natural your learning will feel. Learn through experience, not memorization. One of the biggest mistakes people make when learning English is focusing too much on memorizing words and grammar rules. Yes, vocabulary and grammar are important, but they shouldn't be the only focus. Instead, try learning English through real experiences. This means listening to podcasts, watching TV shows, reading books, and having conversations in English. When you're exposed to English in real situations, you start to understand it naturally without having to memorize everything. For example, think about how you learned your first language as a child. You didn't sit down and study grammar rules or memorize vocabulary lists. You learned by listening to your family, watching TV, and playing with friends. The more you were exposed to the language, the better you got at speaking and understanding it. This is the same idea for learning English. The more you surround yourself with English, the easier it will be to pick it up. Make learning part of your daily life. Effortless learning happens when you make English a part of your everyday routine. Instead of setting aside hours for study time, you can incorporate English into the activities you already do. This might mean listening to an English podcast while commuting, watching your favorite movies with English subtitles, or even changing the language settings on your phone or social media accounts to English. These small changes add up over time and help you get more comfortable with the language. Focus on listening and speaking. A common challenge for many learners is speaking English fluently. We often feel nervous about making mistakes, so we avoid speaking. However, one of the easiest ways to learn English effortlessly is by focusing on listening and speaking. Why? Because these are the most natural ways we learn languages in the first place. When you listen to English regularly, you start to pick up on new words, phrases, and sentence structures. Similarly, when you practice speaking, you start using the words you've heard in real conversations. Don't worry about being perfect. The goal is to get comfortable with the language. As you listen more and speak more, you'll notice that it starts to feel easier and more natural. Celebrate small wins. Learning English effortlessly is not about achieving perfection right away. It's about making small, steady progress over time. Celebrate every little victory, whether it's understanding a new word, completing a simple conversation, or watching a movie without needing subtitles. When you focus on these small wins, you'll stay motivated and continue to improve without feeling overwhelmed. Consistency over intensity. One key to effortless learning is consistency, not intensity. Many learners believe that they need to study for hours to make progress, but in reality, it's much better to practice for shorter periods every day. Even if you only have 15 minutes a day to practice, you will improve over time if you stay consistent. It's the regular small amounts of practice that add up to big results. Let it be fun. Finally, effortless learning is all about having fun. If you enjoy the process, you'll naturally want to keep learning. Find ways to make English interesting for you, whether it's through music, TV shows, games, or talking to friends. The more you enjoy learning, the less it will feel like work, and the faster you'll improve. In conclusion, effortless learning is about making English learning a part of your everyday life in a natural and enjoyable way. It's about shifting your mindset, listening and speaking regularly, focusing on real experiences, and not stressing about perfection. By following these tips, you'll be able to learn English with ease, without the pressure or frustration that often comes with traditional methods. Immersing yourself in English. One of the most powerful ways to learn English effortlessly is by immersing yourself in the language. But what does immersion really mean, and how can you do it effectively? Let's dive into this concept and explore why it's such a crucial part of your English learning journey. What is immersion? Immersion is the process of surrounding yourself with a language as much as possible. When you immerse yourself in English, you're constantly exposed to it, whether through listening, reading, or speaking, until it becomes a natural part of your daily life. It's like when you were a child learning your first language. You didn't sit in a classroom memorizing grammar rules. You learned by being surrounded by people who spoke the language all around you. In language learning, immersion works the same way. The more you are exposed to English in everyday situations, the more easily you'll start to understand it, speak it, and think in it. But the key is consistency. The more often you practice and expose yourself to English, the easier it will become. How can you immerse yourself in English? Listen to English content regularly. One of the best ways to immerse yourself in English is through listening. The more you listen to the language, the more you will begin to recognize words, understand sentence structures, and develop a natural feel for how the language flows. You can listen to English content while doing other activities, which makes it easy to incorporate into your daily life. Some great options for listening include podcasts. Choose podcasts that match your level and interests. There are podcasts available for beginners, intermediate learners, and advanced learners. You can listen to stories, interviews, and discussions about various topics. Try listening to the English Amazing podcast or other similar podcasts to practice speaking and listening. Music. Listening to English music is a fun way to practice. Pay attention to the lyrics and try to understand the meaning of the words. You can even sing along to improve your pronunciation and fluency. Audiobooks. If you enjoy reading, audiobooks are a great way to combine listening and reading. Find books you're interested in and listen while following along with the text. This helps you learn new vocabulary and context and improves your comprehension. Movies and TV shows. Watching movies or TV shows in English is another excellent way to immerse yourself. You can start with subtitles in your own language and then switch to English subtitles as you improve. This helps you learn everyday vocabulary, slang, and expressions that native speakers use. Change your environment to English. To fully immerse yourself, you should make changes in your environment so that English is everywhere you look. Here are some simple ways to surround yourself with English. Change your phone settings to English. The more often you see English, the better. Change the language on your phone, social media, and computer to English. This will help you pick up new vocabulary and get used to seeing words in English daily. Label objects around your home. Another great way to learn vocabulary is by labeling things in your house. Stick small notes or labels on objects like the refrigerator or desk and write the names of these items in English. Every time you use these items, you'll be reminded of the words. Follow English accounts on social media. Follow accounts, pages, or groups in English, whether it's an Instagram page, YouTube channel, or Twitter account. Consuming content in English is a great way to stay connected to the language. Engage in conversations with native speakers. One of the best ways to immerse yourself in English is by speaking with others who speak it fluently. Engaging in conversations helps you practice in real-life situations and builds your confidence. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Speaking is one of the quickest ways to learn. Language exchange partners. Find someone who is learning your native language and arrange a language exchange. You can spend half the time speaking in English and the other half in your native language. There are many apps and websites where you can find language partners, like Tandem, HelloTalk, or Speaky. Speak with friends. If you have friends who are fluent in English, try speaking with them in English during your conversations, even if it's just a few minutes a day. It's great practice. Online English classes or speaking clubs. Many online platforms offer one-on-one lessons with native speakers, like Italki or Cambly. You can also join speaking clubs where you can talk with other learners and native speakers. Read in English every day. Reading is another excellent way to immerse yourself in English. It helps you improve your vocabulary, learn how sentences are constructed, and expose yourself to different writing styles. Here are some easy ways to start reading in English. Books. Pick books that match your level. Start with simple books for beginners, and work your way up to more challenging texts. If you're not sure where to start, try reading children's books as they often use simpler vocabulary and sentence structures. Articles and blogs. If you're interested in a specific topic, search for blogs, articles, or websites in English that cover it. This will help you learn new vocabulary related to your interests. News in English. Reading the news in English can help you learn how to discuss current events and improve your formal vocabulary. There are websites like BBC Learning English or News in Levels that offer news in simple English, which can be especially helpful for beginners. Write in English. Even though writing isn't always part of the immersion process, it's a great way to practice your English. Writing regularly helps you solidify new vocabulary, improve your grammar, and get more comfortable with sentence structures. You can start by keeping a journal, writing about your day, your thoughts, or what you've learned. This practice will help you become more confident in using English to express yourself. Engaging in online communities. Join forums, comment sections, or social media groups where people discuss topics in English. The more you write in English, the better your skills will become. The power of consistency. The key to immersion is consistency. The more time you spend with English, the more naturally you will learn it. Just like learning your first language, you won't notice the changes immediately, but over time, you'll see improvement in your ability to understand, speak, and think in English. Focus on listening and speaking. When it comes to learning English effortlessly, focusing on listening and speaking is one of the most effective strategies. These two skills are the foundation of language learning and are often the hardest to practice in a traditional classroom setting. However, when you prioritize listening and speaking in your daily life, you'll find that learning English becomes much easier and more enjoyable. Let's dive into why these skills are so important and how you can improve them in a natural, stress-free way. Why listening and speaking matter. Before we get into the methods of improving your listening and speaking skills, it's important to understand why these two areas are crucial in language learning. Listening develops your understanding of English. Listening helps you develop a better understanding of how English works in real-life situations. By listening to native speakers, you get to hear how words are pronounced, how sentences flow, and how language is used in different contexts. This exposure helps you improve your vocabulary, comprehension, and pronunciation without even realizing it. Speaking builds confidence. Speaking is essential because it allows you to practice using English actively. Many learners focus too much on reading and writing and forget about speaking. But the more you speak, the more confident you become. Speaking also helps solidify your language skills because it forces you to recall vocabulary and grammar in real time. The more you practice speaking, the more fluent you'll become. Listening and speaking are connected. Listening and speaking go hand in hand. When you listen to English, you hear new words and phrases, which you can then use when speaking. By focusing on listening first, you prepare your brain to understand and produce the language when it's time to speak. How to improve your listening skills. Improving your listening skills doesn't mean spending hours in front of a textbook or memorizing difficult listening exercises. Instead, focus on making listening a regular, enjoyable part of your daily routine. Listen to English content you enjoy. The key to improving your listening skills is to enjoy the content you're listening to. Choose podcasts, music, TV shows, movies, and audiobooks that interest you. Whether you enjoy storytelling, sports, news, or comedy, the more engaged you are with the content, the more you'll want to listen. For example, start with podcasts in English. If you like English Amazing Podcast, you'll not only get exposed to natural language, but also have fun while learning. Try listening to the episodes while you're doing everyday tasks like cooking, cleaning, or commuting. Use subtitles or transcripts. If you're watching a movie or TV show in English, start with subtitles in your native language. As you improve, switch to English subtitles to better connect the spoken words with their written form. This way, you're actively improving both your listening and reading skills at the same time. Similarly, many podcasts and audiobooks offer transcripts. Listening while reading the transcript can help reinforce the connection between what you hear and what you read. Practice active listening. Active listening means focusing fully on the content you're listening to. Avoid multitasking and give your full attention to the audio. Try to listen for specific details, whether it's vocabulary, idioms, or new phrases. This practice helps improve your listening comprehension and ensures you're truly understanding what you're hearing. Listen to slow and clear speech. When you're starting out, it's important to practice listening to slower and clearer speech. Many learners find it difficult to follow native speakers because they speak quickly. To help with this, look for resources made specifically for learners, such as podcasts or YouTube videos designed for English learners. These materials are usually slower and easier to follow, giving you a better chance to absorb the language. How to improve your speaking skills. Now that you understand the importance of listening, it's time to focus on speaking. Speaking is a skill that requires practice, but don't worry. You don't need to wait until you're perfect to start. The more you practice speaking, the easier and more natural it will become. Speak as much as possible. One of the best ways to improve your speaking skills is simply to speak. It might feel intimidating at first, but the more you speak, the more fluent you will become. If you don't have anyone to speak with in person, use online platforms where you can practice with native speakers or other learners. You can also practice speaking alone. Try talking to yourself in English about your day, your plans, or your thoughts. This is a great way to build confidence and fluency. You can also record yourself speaking and listen back to identify areas where you can improve. Don't fear mistakes. A lot of learners are afraid of making mistakes when they speak, but mistakes are a natural part of the learning process. The key is to keep going. When you make a mistake, simply learn from it and move forward. Over time, you'll make fewer mistakes as you become more comfortable speaking. Find a language exchange partner. If you're looking for a way to practice speaking with someone else, consider finding a language exchange partner. This is someone who is learning your native language and wants to practice English with you. You can exchange languages, helping each other improve. Apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, and Speaky are excellent tools for finding language exchange partners. Join online speaking clubs or classes. There are many online communities where you can practice speaking English with others. Look for virtual speaking clubs or conversation classes where you can join group discussions, practice with teachers, or speak with fellow learners who are on the same journey. Regular practice in a supportive environment will help you gain confidence and improve faster. Imitating native speakers. Listen to how they speak. Pay attention to their tone, rhythm, and pronunciation, and try to imitate what you hear. This is called shadowing, and it helps improve your accent and speaking flow. Set realistic speaking goals. Set small, achievable speaking goals that you can work on daily. For example, aim to have a 5-minute conversation in English each day, or introduce yourself in English in front of a mirror. Setting small goals keeps you motivated and helps you gradually build confidence. The power of combining listening and speaking. The true magic happens when you combine listening and speaking. The more you listen, the more you will hear new words, phrases, and structures that you can use when you speak. Similarly, speaking regularly will reinforce the language patterns you've learned through listening. The goal is to create a cycle where listening and speaking feed into each other. As you listen more, you'll understand better, and as you speak more, you'll feel more confident in your ability to communicate. With consistent practice, these skills will begin to feel natural, making English learning an effortless process. Learn vocabulary in context. When it comes to learning English, one of the most effective ways to expand your vocabulary is to learn words in context. Simply memorizing a list of new words without understanding how they fit into real-life situations can make them harder to remember and use. Instead, learning vocabulary through context helps you understand the meaning, usage, and nuances of words more naturally. Why learning vocabulary in context matters. Improves retention. When you learn a word through context, you're more likely to remember it. Understanding how a word is used in a sentence or story gives you a mental image of it in action, which helps you recall the word when you need it in your own conversations or writing. Helps you understand nuances. Many English words have multiple meanings or different uses depending on the context. For example, the word bank can refer to a financial institution or the side of a river. If you only learn the word in isolation, you might not understand which meaning to use in a particular situation. Context helps you grasp these subtleties. Supports natural use of vocabulary. Knowing a word's definition is only part of the learning process. You also need to understand how it sounds, how it's pronounced, and how it fits grammatically into sentences. Learning words in context helps you use them correctly and naturally. Makes learning fun and engaging. Learning vocabulary in context, such as through stories, movies, or songs, keeps the process interesting. You're not just memorizing words. You're discovering them as part of a real, engaging story or conversation. This makes the learning experience more enjoyable and less boring. How to learn vocabulary in context. Read stories and articles. One of the best ways to learn vocabulary in context is through reading. When you read books, stories, articles, or blog posts, you're constantly exposed to new words in real-life situations. For example, when you read a novel, you encounter words used in conversations, descriptions, and settings. As you read, try to guess the meaning of unknown words based on the surrounding sentences. This will help you better understand how those words are used. Watch movies and TV shows. Watching movies or TV shows in English is another fantastic way to learn vocabulary in context. Hearing words used in natural conversations allows you to understand not only their meaning, but also how they are pronounced and used in real-world situations. Start with subtitles in your native language if necessary and gradually switch to English subtitles as your level improves. Listen to podcasts and audiobooks. Listening to podcasts or audiobooks is a great way to immerse yourself in English. Similar to movies and TV shows, podcasts provide context through spoken words. You'll hear words used in different topics, and the context will give you a better understanding of their meanings. After listening, try summarizing the main points in your own words using the new vocabulary you've learned. Engage in conversations. Speaking with others is a powerful way to learn vocabulary in context. Whether you're talking to a friend, a language partner, or a teacher, conversations allow you to use new words and see how others use them. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you practice using new words, the more confident and fluent you will become. Use vocabulary in sentences. Rather than just memorizing vocabulary lists, try to use new words in sentences. This helps you remember them and understand how they fit into your own communication. For example, when you learn a new word, make an effort to write it down in a sentence. Start with simple sentences and gradually increase the complexity as you become more comfortable. Group words by themes or categories. Grouping words by themes or categories such as food, travel, emotions, or work helps you learn them in a more organized way. For example, if you're learning words related to food, you might learn words like delicious, spicy, sour, and bitter together. This way, you learn the words in a related context, which makes it easier to remember them and use them correctly. Make connections to your own life. To make new vocabulary stick, try to relate the words to your personal experiences. For example, if you learn the word adventure, think about your own travels or exciting experiences. When you make these personal connections, the words become more meaningful and easier to remember. The power of repetition and practice. No matter how you choose to learn vocabulary in context, repetition is key. The more you encounter a word in different contexts, the more deeply it will become embedded in your memory. Review new vocabulary regularly, going back to the stories, podcasts, or conversations where you learn new words, and trying to use them again. Practice consistently, not intensively. When it comes to learning a new language like English, one of the most important habits you can develop is consistent practice. Many learners believe that intensive study sessions, where they cram as much information as possible into a short time, are the best way to improve. However, research and experience show that consistent, regular practice is far more effective for long-term success. Why consistency is key. Improves retention over time. When you practice consistently, you allow your brain to absorb information gradually instead of overwhelming yourself with too much new information at once. This leads to better long-term retention of vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. Avoids burnout. Intensive practice might feel productive in the short term, but it can lead to burnout when you try to learn too much too quickly. By practicing in smaller, manageable chunks, you avoid the risk of burnout and keep your learning experience enjoyable and sustainable. Builds a habit. Consistency turns learning into a habit. When you practice English every day, even for a short amount of time, you create a routine that becomes a natural part of your life. Over time, this routine will become so ingrained that it feels strange not to practice. Enhances fluency. Regular practice helps you become more fluent in English. By exposing yourself to the language consistently, you start thinking in English, which is a crucial step toward fluency. When you practice a little bit every day, you improve incrementally, and eventually, you'll be able to speak and understand English naturally and without hesitation. How to practice consistently. Set a realistic schedule. Create a schedule that fits into your daily routine. Rather than aiming for long, exhausting study sessions, set aside a few minutes each day for practice. For example, you could practice for 15 to 20 minutes every morning or evening. Consistency is more important than the length of each session, so keep it manageable. Incorporate English into your daily life. One of the easiest ways to practice consistently is to integrate English into your everyday activities. You don't need to set aside separate time to study. Simply use English as part of your routine. For example, you can listen to English podcasts or music while commuting, watch English TV shows during your free time, or read articles and books in English. Use language learning apps. Language learning apps like Duolingo, Babbel, or Anki can be excellent tools for practicing consistently. These apps offer bite-sized lessons that you can complete in just a few minutes each day. They're perfect for learners with busy schedules who might not have time for long study sessions. Set reminders to practice every day to help you stay on track with your language goals. Practice speaking with a language partner. Speaking practice is essential to improving your fluency. If you don't have someone nearby, there are many online platforms where you can find native English speakers or fellow learners to practice with. Schedule regular conversations, even if they're just for 10 or 15 minutes, to keep up your speaking practice. Track your progress. Keeping track of your progress is a great way to stay motivated and consistent. Use a journal or an app to record the new vocabulary you've learned, grammar points you've mastered, and speaking achievements. When you see how much you've accomplished, it will encourage you to keep going. Set achievable goals. Setting small, realistic goals can keep you motivated and on track. Rather than aiming for perfection, focus on steady progress. For example, you could set a goal to learn 10 new words each week, or to hold a 5-minute conversation in English by the end of the month. These small wins will build your confidence and make learning feel more rewarding, making practice enjoyable. One of the keys to consistency is making learning fun. If you enjoy the process, you'll be more likely to stick with it over time. Find activities you like and incorporate them into your practice. For example, if you enjoy watching movies, try watching English films with subtitles. If you love music, listen to English songs and try to understand the lyrics. The more you enjoy the process, the more likely you are to practice regularly. Stay positive and motivated. Learning English, like any new skill, can come with its challenges. There will be moments of frustration, doubts, and slow progress. However, maintaining a positive mindset and staying motivated throughout the learning process is essential to success. Overcomes doubts and fears. Learning a new language can be intimidating, especially when you feel like you're not making fast progress. Staying positive allows you to push through those moments of doubt and keeps you focused on your long-term goals. Increases motivation. A positive mindset is a powerful motivator. When you believe in your ability to improve, you're more likely to stay committed to your learning journey. Promotes resilience. In any learning process, you will face obstacles. A positive mindset helps you view these challenges as opportunities for growth rather than roadblocks. Improves retention. Positive emotions have been shown to improve memory and learning retention. When you are excited, motivated, and happy, your brain is more receptive to new information. How to stay motivated. Set clear and achievable goals. Break down your larger language learning goals into smaller, manageable steps. For example, Instead of aiming to speak English fluently right away, you might set a goal to learn 5 new words every week. Track your progress. Keeping track of your progress is a great way to see how far you've come. Use a journal or an app to track your vocabulary, grammar lessons, and speaking achievements. Find your why. Understanding why you want to learn English is essential for staying motivated. Are you learning English for career opportunities, to travel, or to communicate with family and friends? Having a clear reason will give you the determination to continue, even when the process gets tough. Celebrate small wins. It's easy to get caught up in the big picture and overlook the small victories along the way. Every time you learn a new word, understand a conversation, or complete a lesson, take a moment to celebrate your progress. Mix up your learning methods. Learning English doesn't have to be monotonous. If you find yourself getting bored with the same study routine, mix things up by trying new learning methods. Variety keeps things interesting and ensures you stay engaged. Surround yourself with positive influences. The people you interact with can have a significant impact on your motivation. Surround yourself with positive influences, whether it's fellow language learners, supportive friends, or encouraging family members. Embrace mistakes. Mistakes are an inevitable part of learning a language. Instead of getting frustrated when you make errors, embrace them as opportunities for growth. Each mistake is a chance to improve. Deal with frustration. Even the most motivated learners experience moments of frustration. It's normal to feel stuck or discouraged at times, but it's important not to let these feelings stop you. Take a step back, breathe, and remind yourself that learning is a journey. Stay patient with yourself. Language learning takes time. You won't become fluent overnight, and that's okay. The key is to remain patient with yourself and keep in mind that each day you're getting one step closer to your goal. Conclusion. Learning English doesn't have to be a daunting task. By approaching it with the right mindset, consistent practice, and the right techniques, you can make the process more enjoyable and effective. Throughout this podcast, we've explored several key strategies to help you learn English effortlessly. From understanding the concept of effortless learning to immersing yourself in the language and focusing on consistent practice. Each of these steps contributes to your overall success. By integrating English into your daily life, whether through listening, speaking, or learning vocabulary and context, you create an environment where learning feels natural rather than forced. It's also important to remember that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. Patience and consistency are crucial in achieving fluency. Focus on progress, not perfection, and celebrate every small achievement along the way. Most importantly, stay positive and motivated. It's easy to feel discouraged at times, but by maintaining a positive attitude and setting achievable goals, you will keep moving forward and overcome any obstacles that come your way. Remember that everyone's learning journey is unique, and it's okay to make mistakes. What matters is that you keep going. So whether you're just starting your English learning journey or have been practicing for a while, keep applying these strategies, stay consistent, and above all, enjoy the process. English isn't just a language. It's a tool that opens doors to new opportunities, new cultures, and new ways of thinking. Keep your goals in mind, stay committed, and trust yourself. You're already on the right path to learning English effortlessly. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and I hope the tips shared here will help you feel more confident and motivated in your English learning journey. Keep practicing, stay positive, and enjoy the ride. You've got this.